Not exactly sure why this live wouldn't let me rotate today, but today we're doing it vertically. So there we go. So I just wanted to jump on because I know I'm a little late, but I do want to talk about something that of late has become very important to me. And that is that we really have to be aware of how important art is in repressive times like we're going into right now. The really strict autocracies and dictatorships do not allow free expression of art, and there's a reason for that, because art influences how people feel. It influences the things people think. It makes a difference to how they see their world. Art is incredibly important. I had somebody on one of my posts where I was trying to get people to support our film 15 say, well, why don't I just go lobby and do that sort of political access? And that isn't my skill set. That isn't where my finances and my passions lie, although obviously it's important to me, and I hope and pray that the things that I'm doing, the films that I'm working on, will make a difference in that way. I'm Melody Brooke. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm a mom. I'm a grandmom. I'm also a filmmaker and an actor and a screenwriter and a poet. So art is obviously very important to me in how I express myself in the world. It is my gift to write and produce and orchestrate actors to create performances that move people. And I have found that it's my gift and it's my calling right now to not only do my practice, but to influence the wider community through communicating in the art form of film, because that is where my passion has been as an avocation outside of my vocation. And I just think it's super important that we allow ourselves to use those creative expressions that we have access to, not only for our own fulfillment, but for the difference it will make in the community and in the world at large. Because when we have those dictatorships, when we have those autocracies, what will happen is they will exile and imprison creatives, because they do know how powerful our voices are, and they will do their best to shut us up. And there's even a museum in Berlin, which I visited, which was all of the artists that had created works that were banned during the Nazi takeover of Germany. And I know we are not, most of us, in states where that's a likelihood. However, there are a large majority of our states right now that are being given free rein to remove people's rights. And we have been pushed back into the Confederate era, where the states basically have the right to conduct business as they will, as though they were separate countries. And as a result, they will have the capacity of shutting down artists. They will have the capacity to shut down viewpoints that go differently. They will have the capacity to cause that limiting of expression, because they have the freedom to do that now. The Supreme Court has actually given them the right to contain whatever freedoms they choose. And this is the long-term impact of the things that we're seeing happen right now. Now, obviously, I'm not a political activist in any way, except that for the last 6 years, as I've seen the direction that we have been going in, obviously those of you who follow me and have followed me for a while know that I do a lot of posting about the impact of these things that are happening in our nation to destroy our democracy, to destroy our freedom, and the impact that is having on millions of people's lives right now today, and women who are both suffering and potentially dying from the impacts of those decisions. And I understand that there's different points of view, and that everybody has the right to see and feel about abortion and abortion rights and pro-life or whatever and guns. That's great. I'm glad people have different opinions. And this is the glory of having a democratic, free society where we are allowed to have and express those points of view freely. And yes, I'm a counselor. So how does this all impact my work as a counselor? Well, I will tell you that already I have seen more than one client struggle with the emotional impact of what's happened since Roe v. Wade, because they know that it will start to have an impact on how, in fact, they've already seen it, how men interact with women, that there is an empowering of our extremely macho men to go, well, we now have the power, you have no power, there's nothing you can do about it. And so they are beginning to assert their power in how they interact with women, which has a tremendous impact on our relationships. It has an impact on our self-esteem. It has an impact on our emotional state, our anxiety. It triggers PTSD in some of us. And those all have long-term impacts on how we interact with each other and with the men in our lives and in the businesses that we interact with. And this is why it's important to understand that these things have an emotional consequence throughout our society and will begin to increase the need for social services throughout the country, even in those countries where, even in those states where perhaps it isn't quite an issue yet. Then, like in Colorado, where I currently live, our governor has said that he supports abortion rights. However, we haven't got it in our Constitution yet. And as a result, the potential for it being overthrown as a right in our state is still there. And if we continue to show people the impact of losing those freedoms, if we continue to demonstrate it through art, through journalism, through poetry, through novel writing, through film, through all the different avenues we have of self-expression, whatever those are that empower you, it's really going to make a difference long term. Now, it's not going to change things overnight. In fact, I don't see it likely that anything's going to change it overnight, because the truth is the things that have happened in the last month, the last few years, it took decades to get to this place. And while a lot of people were sort of taken by surprise by what has happened, there has been a long-term effort to make this happen. And because there has been that long-term effort to make this happen, it's going to take a long-term effort to change it, if we even have the opportunity to change it anytime soon. The last time the Supreme Court made the kind of mistake that they have made in terms of our constitutional rights, it took 58 years to overturn that decision and get us back to a place where some of our rights were being acknowledged and supported. And it may take us that long to change the impact of what's happening right now. I don't know any way right now currently, and I don't see a path to quickly overturning things and getting things back to where we actually have our national unity, to where we actually have a United States of America. I don't see that happening anytime in the short-term future. And that's why I'm so adamant about making sure that these films get made and get distributed regardless of people who may not like it, people who may disagree, and that's okay. You can disagree with me all day long. I am perfectly okay with that. What I am not okay with is telling me I do not have the right to say or to express myself in the ways that work for me, that allow me to be who I am and express myself the way that I feel and the way I believe. I was talking to somebody recently about a whole different subject, but she was telling me that this friend of hers absolutely believed that there was no way things happened other than this one way, according to her opinion. And my opinion was, well, it probably happens the way she's talking about, but it also happens the way I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, being able to be inclusive in how we look at the issues that are facing us. This is the country that I grew up in, was that we had this ability to listen to each other, even the more extreme points of view, and influence it, so that we sort of came out in this middle place where everybody was not completely happy, but we were okay with the outcome. Which is why, going back a few decades, when I voted for other presidents than whom got elected, I was generally okay and not offended or upset terribly, even though I didn't get the wish that I had for president or governor or whatever it was. At least I knew that there was a level of cooperation, and that level of cooperation has been lost. And that is where we start to have this travesty in our world, in our country, in our governance, and in our states, and in our governance, and the loss of freedoms that are happening to us every day and will continually happen, in that we will not be able to have a united front in terms of human rights, in terms of our environment, in terms of how we are allowed to live and breathe in this country. Those are days of the past, and sadly it's going to have a huge impact, not just on America, it's going to have an impact on the whole world, because long term we are the largest, have been the largest, most prosperous country on the planet, and we are now in a path that will destroy that. And I don't think people fully understand that. So this is coming back to why art is so important. Art is important because without it, we fail to fully integrate the experiences that are happening in the people's lives around us. That is the gift of art, is that it pulls us in emotionally to fully feel the impact of the things that are happening in our world and the loss of human rights, and develop a capacity for empathy that we seem to be losing day by day. I work with it with my practice to help people develop it for themselves and for the people in their lives, and also now out in the world for us to begin to have some empathy. It's like all these people that I know that are pro-life, the majority of them have huge hearts, and I get it. I understand why they're so held on to that view. And yet the problem is it's such a limited view. It doesn't expand to being able to have empathy for the women, the families, the global impact of more and more children on a planet that can barely feed itself as it is. So I see I have a lot of people on today, so I'm going to jump in and see who's speaking. Oh, okay. Sherry says, that's what government does. They expand so they can exert more control. It took 58 years for Plessy to be overturned. That's the one I was talking about. And it only happens when people build an army, like I'm trying to build, in a way, not a aggressive fighting with weapons army, but an army of human beings fighting humanely and empathetically for us to be able to change the way we are governed, so that we lose that extreme control, which is really causing so much misery. Right, Gandhi built an army. That's right, Sherry. So we cannot reach our full potential, as Sherry says, without the freedom to express. It's true. And in fact, it is at core what I work to help my clients get to, where they can fully embrace their self and have self-expression available to them, and not be shut down, not be controlled by external or internal forces which keep them from being fully who they are. And it has taken me yeah, a long time, many, many years to get to where I feel free to do that. And I know it's going to piss people off, and I know that I'm going to have backlash, but it doesn't even scare me anymore because I know, I know what is right for me to say and to express. And I'm willing to listen to other people's points of view and be empathetic with where they're coming from. That is all I'm asking for any of us. And I appreciate those of you being willing to be here today, and any of you that are willing to consider supporting my project. It's called 15. You can put in pound 15 after row and get a list of all the posts about it. And you can visit my page to find links to, in fact, I'll put a link below, to the Indiegogo campaign that will help us finance it. At this moment, you know, I don't make a lot of money. I'm not extremely wealthy. I don't have a ton of money left over from my life. In fact, all the money I have would not be enough to really manage my retirement. I'm just kind of planning to keep on working. But I will use what I have to help make this film, even if I don't get help. But I am hoping that those of you listening will share this with the people in your life who are maybe struggling with why it is that you're an artist, or why it is that art is important, or why it is that we're stuck in this world where our choices and our freedoms are getting squashed. And then see if you have whatever it takes within you to donate $5, $10, more, $5,000, whatever you have available to help us make this project, and then continue to make projects that will make a difference in how people experience and feel what is happening in our world today. And I am open to thoughts, criticisms, different points of view, because that's what freedom is. Express yourself however you need to express yourself, but please try to be kind. I try to be kind. And I am sorry for being a little bit late today. You can find out more about me at melodybrook.com. I also have books available on Amazon and Kindle and Audible. And I have a poetry book on Apple as well as Amazon. And I appreciate you listening. And I hope you understand the impact that art has on our every experience of our life. And I'll talk to you next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, as I will try to do every Tuesday. And I would love to hear any topics, concerns, questions that you might have that I could address in one of these. So feel free to message me privately or leave it below, and I will see you next week. Let me see what else Sherry was saying. She's really talkative today. She says, oh, please, yeah, thank you, Sherry. She put the link right there. Yeah, support artists fighting for your freedoms. That's exactly what we're doing. And I will do it as long as I'm allowed to, as long as I'm breathing. I will continue to speak up. And yes, I do have my own truth. I know there are people who say there's only one truth, but no, there's more than one truth, because we all see things from our truthful perception of what our life experience is. Another thing that I try to help people see every day. Anyway, see you next week. Maybe I'll talk about that longer next Tuesday. Bye.